Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cinco Squad, another fantastic Thursday of sports talk. I'm Mike DeSanto here with hosting duties today, along with, which way is it? I don't even know. Pat and John, they're together in Syracuse. Grandpa Jay's still down in Florida. How you doing today, boys?
No.
Great. Somebody's pissed that you missed out on her.
He's gonna hump his pillow. He's fine.
You guys doing good tonight?
Yes, sir. How you
Doing
doing?
great. Watching a little hockey, watching a little football. Doing good. Had some toe suspenders.
Pat and John back together flying under the Eagles flag.
Fly Eagles fly, baby. Sorry.
Yes, I myself am doing all right, enjoying whatever brief amount of warm weather we have left here in New York. It's supposed to get down into like the 50s by Saturday, so that's fun. Yeah, I know. Just in time for John to go home to sunny Florida.
Yes, get me back.
John,
I got to deal with
would you rather not have to see Jonathan Taylor shit the bed again here for another fantasy game, taking him number one in your draft and probably being one of the worst number ones so far in fantasy history?
What's that? I'm
I said, are you happy to not watch Jonathan Taylor give you another disappointing performance as your number one?
So.
That's what I mean. Are you happy that you don't have to start him and see him go off?
I do. Here's my thing, Jay. Is like I'm okay with that because, well, now I'm not because I picked up Hines in my big money league, and it's not looking good right now because Hines just went out with a like stumbling off the field. So
yeah, I started him too in my other league. So I think in our league I started him. So it looks like I might have 0 points.
I mean, I took Taylor. Thinking that the Wentz factor helped, it didn't matter who was playing quarterback, that ultimately, the offensive line was going to be better, and the offensive line stinks.
Well, Matt Ryan, 9 turnovers in 3 games ain't cutting it. So 4 games, that's not cutting it.
Yeah.
Well, as we kick off the show, I think we should kick it off the way we always do. I want to know. Let's see. We'll start with Jamie. Jamie.
So I got a really pleasant surprise by one of my swimmers that used to come here. His mom came to watch his former high school swim, and they brought a present up in the whole 9s. Unfortunately, they're warm, but a great present indeed. I want to thank my boy Matthew for that. So I had to dig in the work fridge, and I found this Guarana Antarctica, right, which is a soda from Brazil. But check this out. In the midst of the Amazon rainforest grows an exotic berry called the guarana that bears the soul and spirit of our land and people. Take your first sip and you'll discover my flavor unlike anything else and as unique as we are. Guarana. Let's see if it lives up.
This has been your nature fun fact with Jamie.
It's actually pretty good.
Guarana. Did you steal that from someone? You said you went to the work fridge?
Yeah, because that's been sitting there all summer. Apparently, like a parent gave it to one of the instructors and she hated it the first time she gave it to her. So I've been watching this thing for months and I'm like, I'm going to sip on this tonight.
Isn't it good?
It's pretty good. What are you 2 Eagle fans sipping on up there?
The Bad Blue.
Of course.
Mike, change them to Bert and Ernie for the rest of the show.
All right, I got my jug. Little jug.
Hey there, Pat.
You're,
Hey there, Pat.
Quick,
Quick, John, sing the Rubber Ducky song.
We knew it. We're saying through dinner. We couldn't even make it through dinner. We went to Tully's and had dinner, and we were like, this is gonna be bad. We can't eat dinner right now. We're gonna do it from Tully's.
John doing the Tully's tour because we went to Tully's when he was here in Rochester with me.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm also doing the goddamn I gained weight tour.
What are you talking about, John? All we went to New York City for was to find all the different Planet Fitnesses and work out in them.
Yeah, so I heard.
Our hotel. He's like, the one thing he's like, did you see that when we were driving by? I was like, I saw a lot of things, Mike. What do we see?
We're in New York. That's specifically what we're looking at here. The crackhead, the garbage, the 2 restaurants.
He's like, there's a Planet Fitness across the street from our hotel. I'm like, well, I'm not going to use it.
Mike.
Just in case.
What flavor of the week are we sipping on?
Yeah, what do you got?
So this week I have something that, being that John was with me last weekend, he has seen this. but I do not believe I've had this on the show yet. It is a Simply Spiked Lemonade watermelon, which I have had before, so this is not a first.
We had a Simply Spiked last week. What was that, lemonade?
Watermelon.
But what was last week? A lemonade?
Yeah, last week I believe was a blueberry.
Okay.
Next week, stay tuned for
strawberry.
Electric grape.
Raspberry. Mike's gonna go do all the fruit. Orange.
I did consider having a hard orange soda, which I also have in the fridge. But
speaking of all the fruit, are your Syracuse Orange Men still unbeaten right now at this point in the college season?
5-0, baby.
Along with those feisty Kansas Jayhawks, still holding down that unbeaten record. About two of the most unlikely teams right now sitting at 5-0.
Right, basketball schools.
Yeah, two basketball schools.
Love
Kentucky had to go and spoil it by shitting the bed in Ole Miss.
Yeah, thanks SEC.
Thanks SEC.
Thanks SEC. Well, before we move on to our topics for the evening, it's time for the weekly edition of the Cinco Squad Fantasy Football Update.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, we're watching football on that phone.
I got you. Hold on. I didn't know we were doing
I
this.
won.
All right. So
I, too, won.
I lost again. Go figure. Give me a second. I'll pull it up.
I won by scoring. I had the right matchup to win this week. I don't think I would have beaten anybody else.
Trey dominated. Beat me at 170, 141. Pat beat Fonz. 135, 131.
Fonz put up a fight, man.
Yeah, he did. It wasn't going away. Jamie beat OP 121, 81. Damn. That's a bad score. My dad beat Rick 149 to 127. And then Lickety Splits, Tyler Malfa suffered his first loss, our only undefeated left, by Daniel Jones himself, Mike DeSanto.
Jones.
We only needed 80 yards.
So what you need is a quarterback this week. You got Saquon playing out the Wildcat all day in London or what?
No.
Lost the palm.
After he was ruled, we were talking about it earlier this week. After he was ruled ineligible at Penn State, we've signed Chad Powers, who bears a striking resemblance.
You keep looking at
Eli Manning.
To one Eli Manning. It's weird. We let him wear.
We won greatest Giants quarterback to ever don the jersey. Eli Manning.
Yeah, probably. It's him or Sims.
It's him or Sims? Come on, it's Eli.
Yeah, come on.
No, it's Kelly Hotstadler.
Jim Hotstadler or Kelly.
Ryan Nassib, we all know it.
Go Orange. Go Orange.
Get out of here.
Uncle Mike is Uncle Mike's in the house. Talking about my extremely manly drink. Go Bonnies.
Yeah. Nothing like that guarana. You know it.
No, of course. So let's start off the evening, gentlemen, with talking about the upcoming MLB playoffs. Yes, now, we've kind of already made our predictions, although by the end of this, Pat, I'd like to get your predictions for the World Series.
Okay.
But the topic this week is who has the toughest road in the MLB playoffs? Because for those of you that may not know, the MLB playoff format has slightly changed this year with a 3-game wild card series, which begins tomorrow.
Without a reseed.
At time of recording. And instead of reseeding, you play the winner of a matchup. For example, the Yankees will play the winner of Cleveland and Tampa.
We'll play the Rays.
So I was thinking about this, and it's hands down the New York Mets. New York Mets if they move on, they have the hardest road to the World Series because they not only have to go through the Padres, who are playing good baseball, they got to go through the Dodgers. Then they got to go through their arch nemesis, the Atlanta Braves. That is a very tough road. and then if they get to the World Series, they got to play the Yankees.
It's not a real hat.
No, it's not. So I think I wholeheartedly think the Mets have a tough road, but they also ultimately did it to themselves, giving up that there was some stat that said they led for 175 days.
79.
179?
Yeah.
And the Braves only led for 8, which is like nuts. Like it's like how do you just blow that again?
Wait, what's going on at Home Depot?
This segment brought to you by Home Depot.
This segment brought to you by Home Depot. No, I just thought for anybody watching or listening that may not know the playoff bracket.
Yeah,
we have the winner of Tampa and Cleveland play the Yankees. The winner of Seattle and Toronto play Houston. Winner of the Phillies and the Cardinals play the Braves, and the winner of the Padres and the Mets play the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So we heard from John. John says it's the Mets. Pat, what do you think?
I'm kind of split in. It's coming out of that wild card series, the Mariners and Blue Jays. Yeah. Whoever comes out of that, because you got to go cross countries, plural countries, and then go up against Houston, which Mariners played Houston pretty good all year. But still, you're coming out of the travel of a 3-game series. Hopefully it doesn't go 3 for either of those teams. But if they go to Houston right after that, that's a dogfight. And then you got the winner of the Yankees. Tampa's not an easy out. Cleveland won't make it past Tampa. But, yeah, I mean, it's got to be one of those two teams that have to travel that far of a distance. With the COVID protocols, that still might be in Toronto. We don't know. Does anyone know?
Yes. It's supposed to be in Toronto.
Yeah, you can't play if you don't have the shot.
That's tough, man. That's tough. Yeah. Yeah, either Mariners or Blue Jays. Jay, what you think?
Yeah, what about you, Jay?
So I actually think that it's the Dodgers. And the reason I say that is when a team is winning so consistently and then they kind of just have to take like 4 or 5 days off. I don't know if that momentum, like losing that momentum, hurts them. But to me, they have to go through the best 1-2 punch in the playoffs because I think the Mets will beat the Padres. Yeah. So if they get by the Mets, meaning they may have to face DeGrom and Scherzer 4 times, then they probably have to play the defending World Series champs as the best team in the regular season. So not only do I think they have the pressure of obviously you won 111 games, you're expected to get to the World Series. They have to go through the best 1-2 and possibly if they get by that, the Atlanta Braves, who have been playing the best baseball in all of baseball since the All-Star break. And then after that, they play an impossible series against the Yankees or the Astros because I think both those teams get through it with their games, with their series. So I think the Dodgers just have it really tough. The NL is pretty deep. The Braves are deep. The Mets are deep. And I think the Dodgers are in for a dogfight to make it out of that. Speaking of a dogfight.
How did you call this?
Right on cue.
I know you're going to say the Yankees.
No, I don't think the Yankees have the toughest road because I think they can beat Tampa or Cleveland. And that's not me as a Yankees fan saying that. I think they just match up well now, and they've been playing some of their best baseball recently. I'm going to have to agree with John in that it's the Mets because I've been saying it for a few weeks now since Atlanta really started coming back in that division that the worst thing that could happen to the New York Mets was having to play in the wild card round.
Yeah.
Because now you almost assuredly are using the first start for DeGrom and Scherzer to get to the DS. And that's if you can get good starts out of both of them. Yeah. Now, you will hope that your two best pitchers, two of the best pitchers in baseball, aren't going to be necessarily hindered by an extra start in the playoffs. But it's baseball, and you never really know. And not being able to rest either of them coming out of a regular season where they were in a dogfight to try to hold on to the division, which they ultimately didn't do.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to do that. Hopefully, hopefully, for the Mets' sake, they can win in 2 games, rest either DeGrom or Scherzer to be able to pitch in Game 1 of the DS. Otherwise, they may have to sacrifice Game 1 of the DS with Taijuan Walker or Chris Bassett, who aren't bad pitchers, but they'll be facing the Dodgers number 1.
Right. But don't you think it's better if they pitch 2-3 and then, if necessary, pull one out in 5 if they're down 3-1? But if they tie the series 2-2, they definitely have them all rested for 6-7.
From my perspective, I would always want to be going
ace against ace.
I'd always want to be going ace against ace, and I want to win the first 2 games because that's momentum in the series. I would imagine it statistically holds up that it's easier to win the series if you win the first 2 than if you're down 2-0 going into Game 3.
Right.
Now, you may still tie it 2-2, but now you're going back to a park that you haven't won in. in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for me, it's just the Mets, because even if they somehow get past the Dodgers, who have a better lineup than them and bullpen-wise match up with them, I'd still think the Mets have the better rotation, obviously, but bullpen-wise.
And they just got swept by Atlanta. That's not a good feeling.
They have to then go play Atlanta.
Mike, I argued with you on this before. That I disagree, because now we got another dog.
The dog show.
The dogs appear to agree with me, John.
Oh my god,
he never gets on the couch. It's weird.
I argue with this because ultimately, if they pitch DeGrom and they take care of business in 2 games against the Padres, they're playing at home. Then they fly out to LA and they don't play until 7th. They play tomorrow and then Saturday,
mm-hmm.
and then game 1 is Tuesday, right?
Right.
The 11th.
Right.
So that gives them Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You pitch your 3rd starter on game 1 against the Dodgers.
Correct.
And then you're back to your normal rotation. It's like, even you said that typically what teams are going to do is play 3 starters. So ultimately, if they take care of business, they're going to be on their rotation. And they're going to have a healthy arm that's been throwing instead of waiting. I've always been nervous about the Yankees playing and waiting, because people get cold. I don't like that.
I would agree, except for what hurts them most, though, is that in the DS, as my uncle has pointed out, it's only 5 games.
Correct, but you're still going to get your starters, though. You're still going to get your rotational, though. Even if you go 3 games, you're still going to get that third day rest. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like if DeGrom pitches game 1 and they get through everything, he's going to be ready for game 1 of the DS. If it's only if you're only telling me
you're not going to throw DeGrom on 3 days rest.
But that's what you were saying before, is that ultimately
I was saying they go with
3 starters. So if they're only pitching 3 starters, then he has to pitch on 3 days rest.
No,
ultimately,
if you go with 3 starters, your goal is to not have them throw on 3 days rest unless you're in an elimination game.
I mean, my thing is he'll be rested enough to go game 1 or 2. If not, you pitch your 3rd starter on game 1 of the DS, and even if it's a 5-game series,
I mean, you're looking at
it's a 5.
They could also play a bullpen game in the wild card set somewhere in there.
Correct.
That's what teams have been usually doing in the
playoffs. That is true. I'm just saying you
what the Tampa Rays do. Play that bullpen starting rotation.
Moneyball.
You've potentially lost game 1 if you can't match up with an ace. And so you're already down 1-0. You win game 2, but it's a 5-game series. So fine, you win 2 and 3. Now you don't have either of them for 4 and 5.
Not necessarily. They'll pitch them regardless, in my opinion.
Not on 2 days rest.
Just to shed some light on how ridiculous the Dodgers were this year, though.
You're going to pitch who you're going to pitch.
But here's the thing, right?
They're not going to throw them on
in the World Series. In our World Series year, CC had to pitch on 2 days rest.
No,
but here's the thing, right? I just think it's the Dodgers. My thing is expectations, right? Like the Dodgers have knocked everybody around. The second closest run differential to the Dodgers is the Yankees at 240 this year. The Dodgers were at 335.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
so to me, it's almost like it doesn't matter who pitches, but if all of a sudden the bats are cold in game 1, and then the Mets pick up momentum and steal one, and then they go back to New York, and then you have that raucous crowd out there, and the Dodgers same flying all the way across to New York. The weather sucks. It ain't beautiful. LA, it's not 68, 72 degrees. It's a muggy 38. I really think the Dodgers might have the roughest path just because they're used to playing in the sunshine, probably more than anybody else, right? So,
yeah, I guess I could see that.
But could you see the Mets having a rough patch there because you just blew the division, and now you got to go up against the Padres, who's not an easy out.
It's not. They're playing good baseball.
They're back in the playoffs in how long?
I just think the Padres aren't healthy enough to beat the Mets. If they had their full lineup, for sure. I don't think they're healthy enough to win that division.
You're just saying without Tatis?
Yeah, well.
No, but if they can take
it for a minute, though.
They make all year.
They make problems for the Mets, even if they've just forced it to game 3. They make problems for the Mets. That's an extra game everybody has to play.
Problems for the Mets.
Yeah, exactly.
That division.
What's the last time the Mets had that 10-game lead in the
06?
Yeah. 06, and
they blew the division lead to the.
They needed to win all 10 of those games, or at least 5 of those, or something like that, and they blew every single one of them and didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I agree with Pat that the Mets are the only person in the way of the Mets are the Mets.
Yeah,
they're hurting themselves, regardless of rotation. The rotation will figure it out. If it's game 5 in LA and DeGrom is your best starter and he's only been on 2 days rest, I'm throwing him. I don't care. It's either survive or advance at that point.
Right, but the thing is like
advance. I don't care. I'm trying to win a World Series. That's my.
I know, but you're not. The thing is like the manager Showalter has to think about. I need him for game 1 of the CS.
But you got to get there first, Mike.
I understand that.
I see what Mike's saying though. That is Buck Showalter. Too.
All right, so hold on. Let's wrap this up. You and John say the Mets. I say the Dodgers. And Pat, is it Mariners or Blue Jays? Which one?
Either one.
Whoever wins that series.
Coming out of there.
They got a tough
Which one?
They got the.
Who do you have winning that series?
Blue Jays. I'll go Blue Jays.
All right, so then the Blue Jays.
All right. So I agree with my uncle. I think like the Mets would need the best thing on short rest for DeGrom is get him out early, get an early lead, get him out early, turn to your bullpen.
Yeah.
And he agrees with you and I, John. It's the Mets. Now, before we move on, Pat, we've all given our World Series predictions. Give me your AL, give me your NL, give me your winner.
Yankees, Dodgers, Yankees. Bang.
Like it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Like it. Love it. Push it.
And
so wait, are you guys sticking with yours, John? You are Yankees.
That would also be the biggest thing for MLB.
I believe you. He was John. I think you were Yankees Braves,
Mets.
Right?
No, he went Subway Series. He went.
Oh, he did go
Yankees,
Subway
Mets.
Series.
You went St. Louis Yankees, right?
Yes.
So now I regret that pick because of what at the time the Mets were playing good baseball. They just beat the Dodgers in a 4-game series, and they're playing good. So
at the time they had like a 5-game lead in the division.
Now I don't know if they're going to get out of their own way.
I said it was going to be a rematch, and then Houston would win. So I said rematch, and Houston
we'll see. Hopefully
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it should be interesting tomorrow. We'll know.
I'm interested.
Well, great sports over the weekend. You got to choose baseball or football over the weekend.
Baseball.
Football.
John's like, what do you mean choose? I got like 9 TVs.
I need a wall of TVs. Come on.
He needs
someday we'll all
Did John send you that the video of that setup?
Of the guy with that. I sent it to Pat because Pat and I were just talking about his new place, and we were like, "Hey, you need to get." I was like, "You need to get this for the
curved LED screen." That's badass.
You need projectors coming down from each wall in the front. Like, all right,
how does it look like David?
Hey, your uncle agreed. You went Yankees cards.
He went Yankees Cardinals, Yankees in 6.
I mean, that Cardinals lineup is pretty dangerous right now.
They're playing with a special kind of magic.
Yeah, it's the 703.
But boys, let's now take it from all the way from the playoffs all the way to the preseason.
Playoffs.
Jim Mora. So the question we're asking ourselves today is. That's going on right now. Are the NBA and NHL preseasons as pointless as the NFL?
So, I had a good point about this. I don't know who wants to go first.
If you got a good point, go ahead.
So, here's my thing, right? So, the NFL I think is kind of dumb. I agree that there should be some sort of like those inner squad. And Mr. Cinco himself and I were talking about this too. Is that there should be those inner squad games. If you're going to have those, don't have the preseason games, right? So that's what I think, that they should do is just do those inter squad games. They're ultimately competitive. You're just not hitting the quarterback. And granted, let's be honest, in the league now, you can't even touch the quarterback without getting 15 yards.
Yeah.
So for the NBA, I think it's good for, especially nowadays, just because there's a lot of movement in the NBA with players. So you need to have that chemistry, and it's only 5 guys on the court at one time. Hockey helps the young guys get some NHL experience and see who you got in spurts, because out of all 3 of these sports is the only team that has a farm system that you could send guys to, who's gonna be guys I can call up, who works good with who. It allows you to see it. I do agree. I was watching the games last night, and they were saying that I forget the one guy on TNT. Mike, you know who he is. He's the partier. He's the partier of the group. Like, he parties a lot.
Is it Paul Bissonnette?
Yeah, Biz.
And
he said, get rid of the preseason games. And he was joking at first, but then he was like, no, but get rid of the amount. There's they play like 15 games.
Yeah.
Preseason. I'm okay with 5 to see what the young guys got with the older guys. But 15 is a lot.
They play 15,
like something around that.
Holy
It's between 10 and 15 or something like that. I think.
Yeah, it used to be shorter. I think they've expanded the preseason.
But you have a way to see who goes to the AHL, who goes to the ECHL. With the NBA, in hockey, there's only 5 people on the ice at one time, so you got to see what gels versus where NFL, like you got to gel with your receivers, but you not necessarily need to gel with your linemen, right?
What?
Like you don't need to know where your linemen are going to be. Like they're going to block.
Absolutely do know.
Well, you have to trust that your linemen are going to be there.
Trust that they're going to do what they have to do.
In a sense of you don't need to find your alignment down the middle throwing a pass.
No, but you got to know where the shell protection is.
Right, of course. But I'm saying it's not as there's 11 guys on the field.
It's not as pertinent.
Correct. So that was my thing about it, is that the NHL plays it a little bit different because you have a farm system. You got to see who you can bring up during the season in case someone gets hurt, who gelled with who, lines moving around, those type of things. But ultimately, it's an 82-game season for both. You could figure it out, eventually. It's not like NFL where you have 16 games. Right. That's why I think it's pertinent for a couple inter-squad scrimmages between teams to help.
I can't believe it's 15
games. I think it's 10 or 15 or something like that.
It's something like that. It used to be between 5 and 7.
I think it's 12. I know it's more than 10.
Yeah, they've been playing a lot.
Still a lot.
They added. I would say they added a few games. Jay, what do you think?
So, I mean, look, they've even taken out the Pro Bowl in the NFL. Now there's only the skills competition left, right? So, and preseason is preseason has that little more who's the better receiver, 4th or 5th, who's competing for the 3rd running back. So it gives you the depth. I think it helps you solidify your depth chart from the standpoint of not your backup, but in this case, in the Giants, if 2 quarterbacks go down, who's your 3rd? So it gives you the emergency plan. In the other sports, it's really good for the guys who are hurt, who can come back and get their legs so they can feel more fresh for the actual games that count, like Zion, like Kawhi, guys that haven't played in almost a full year. I mean, more than a year when you think about when they went out. So for those particular superstars, because to me, it's really nice to see the superstars at their peak level early in the season, by game 6 or game 7. At that point, superstars are clicking, and then there's basketball's at a high level. I think everybody kind of figures that NBA doesn't really count until Christmas Day, and after Christmas Day, that's when we know who for sure is a contender or a pretender. Yeah. So that's why I just feel like it's more for whoever's injured. NHL, I could definitely see why that makes sense. I think that's the one sport that proves who was working out in the off season, who kept in shape. You can't hide that. And same thing, right? I think it's also to solidify who's the right guy for your 3rd line. I think going into the season who your 1st line is going to be, barring no injury. So it really gives coaches a good sense of not having to panic when the season starts. I think you have a great idea of who's going to fit here, and this is who we're going to go with. But John made a great point. Right now, Dame Lillard has to find chemistry on a team where he might not be the number one all the time. In Portland, he was putting up the ball 70% of the time. Right now, he's going to have to learn to move that ball because he has so many more options. He's going to have to be a true point guard. Maybe the preseason gives him an opportunity to do something like that. So I see it as much more revealing of a good system that for the NHL and NBA. Okay for the NFL, but we know that the quality of the games suck compared to the NBA and NHL in preseason.
Here's the thing, and sorry, Pat and Mike, but here's the thing I heard is make the preseason in NFL 2 quarters. Don't make it a full game. Make it 2 quarters, because ultimately the starters are only playing a couple quarters.
Or shorten the time of the quarter.
Exactly.
I've heard 5 minutes.
I think 10 minutes would be good. 10 minutes would be good. It'll go by quick.
10-minute running clock, or I've heard running clock nonstop, no matter what whistle or anything.
Yeah, except if you want teams to get into that 2-minute drill, maybe in the 4th quarter or the end of the half.
Right, end of the half, right. In 4th quarter, 2-minute drill.
Right. 3 minutes in, it stops.
But that plays an hour and a half game. It allows for less cause of injury because the clocks continually move. So I've heard a lot of different variables, but I hate either do the inter squad scrimmage before the game that they do, or just do the game. Don't do both. I hate that. That's stupid. Because then what's the point of playing? You guys already beat up at each other 2 days ago.
Right.
So Mikey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. No, Pat, hold on.
Take your time, dude. I'm in no rush. Get out of here.
I agree with you guys. The NFL preseason always kind of been to me. Like it's interesting to see for me, like to watch the Giants preseason games a little bit, just to be like, oh, okay, I remember this guy we drafted. How does this guy we drafted look like? Or, oh, I remember him from college. We signed him. That's cool. But like, I don't need to watch a whole game. NBA, it makes a lot of sense for guys that have been hurt, especially significant injuries like Zion and like Embiid from a few years ago when he coming back from his foot. And for the benches, I get the need to kind of learn who fits into your system best to have like a full bench, unless you're a team that doesn't play your full bench. But yeah, I definitely think the NHL is the more necessary preseason because, like John said, it's a lot about figuring out your lines, figuring out who works, who's been, like Jamie said, who's been working out in the off season, who's gotten a lot better. And it goes back a little bit to what John and I were talking about last night, which was he texted me. He was like, hey, is this Bruins Rangers game like a regular season game? And I said, no, it's still preseason. He said, oh, well, all the starters are playing. And I was like, yeah, at this point in the preseason, Gerard Gallant, the Rangers coach, is just trying to figure out his lines.
Yeah, and they were playing. I mean, the reason why is the atmosphere in the stadium, too. They were cheering. It was like 5-4 with 30 seconds left to go in the game, Bruins. Yeah. And, like, they were cheering. They're like, let's go, Rangers. I was like, holy shit. Like, it sounds like
that brings up an interesting
point. It really does. I was like, holy shit. Like,
we're a very proud fan base.
But that's the thing. That brings up, I mean, you have the Yankees, so you can't say that hockey is it in New York, but they do love their Rangers. You look at Boston right now. I mean, there's a lot of success in the NBA, too. And so it's hard to think, like, where's the fan base really leaning or who are they leaning into the most right now? Like, do the Bruins have a better chance of winning this or the Celtics? Probably the Celtics. Do the Rangers have a better chance of winning right now, or is it the Yankees? Probably the Yankees. So like, you're talking about two towns, I think, that are spoiled, where they have other towns where, like, this is what we have. Like, this is our best chance. Hockey is our best chance. You know, our teams aren't going to do much, you know, if anything. So they wouldn't. But look, New York fans get up for anything, right? So,
Pat, what you got?
Yeah, but what do you got, Pat?
So here's the thing: is the NFL. Everyone's heard quarterbacks don't play well until they get hit. They get hit, they start playing well, you got to take the first sack. Get on the ground, get back up, you're going to float a game.
Trevor Lawrence.
That's the preseason for the NFL. You got to get initially hit. Same with NHL. You got to get checked. You got to get up the ice. You got to get back down the ice. Those two I can see the preseasons for. NBA, these guys play basketball 24/7. They breathe basketball. Ball is life. It's not as necessary to play preseason basketball, especially when the Suns are playing, a New Zealand team, Australian team, and they lose to them. Yeah. That can't be good for team morale. What are you guys doing?
That's a strategy that they've been doing over the past few years. That I was listening to NBA TV today, and they were saying that a lot of teams now are playing teams they think they're going to – of players they're going to think to draft in the draft. And I actually thought that was smart because – how do they match up against my team? But I guess
it's not smart having Chris Paul get 6 points in a game and you guys lose.
I agree. But I think it's more or less to see the guy that you're thinking of drafting without having to send a guy overseas or anything like that. It's like, let's take the
What's
team.
worse, sending a scout overseas or getting your team get whooped by a no-name?
Yeah.
They were called the 36ers.
Yeah. But, I mean, I agree with you.
Would that make them less than half of the 76ers?
Oh yeah, it makes them
well. We've reached the math section of the show. I believe so, Jamie. I believe the math checks out.
But hey, let me tell you what doesn't check out in the preseason right now. You guys had Draymond taking a swing at Jordan Poole in practice. That happened yesterday. You hear about that?
But
pulled the Michael Jordan.
Let's be honest. Why is this any news? Like, I get it's news because it's in our team and everything. But Draymond's had problem with teammates his entire career.
It's news because they're the defending champs, and I feel like they're still everybody's sweetheart team right now, and they want to feel like they're synergized and they're this great team and there's no problems. But it's the other way. When the Bulls were going through their second three-peat, that's when that shit went down with Jordan and Kerr. And I feel when teams have that moment, it means that there's a lot of tension in the practice environment because everybody's competing for minutes. I think that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing.
I just want to know.
I think it was a good thing too.
Wait. I want to know if Draymond Green just stared at Steve or Kerr.
Steve Kerr and said,
You remember.
Hey, yeah. Flashback. I wonder if Steve went up in his face because he felt, he had like PTSD, and he was like, "What the hell do you think?"
Yeah, he put his hands up.
Well, Mr. Cinco himself and I were having that conversation. He goes, honestly, Draymond's on the perfect team because Steve Kerr knows how to handle that type of confrontation because he had to deal with Michael. I mean, we saw it on The Last Dance, right? But he had, like Michael even said, he used to tear into Steve all the time. Like, so he knows how to handle those type of players. And I think it's the perfect situation because they're not going to suspend him. I just got that update here today.
No.
Which I think is dumb. Like,
suspend him for the rest of the preseason because it's unnecessary.
Yeah. So I mean, to your point though about them playing 24/7, they do play 24/7, but I think it's different when you're playing with your own team though, and you're getting that chemistry. Because I was saying before, when you were outside, is that players are moving so much.
Right, but I mean that comes with the game flow. These guys have been playing.
I get
They're
you.
Vets.
Like they don't need the talent. They don't need the time to like learn how to shoot again. They need it. I just think they need that chemistry. Maybe like 3-4 games. They don't need like
maybe set offenses, but how many times does a set offense happen in the NBA? It's nothing new that these guys have not seen. It's not reinventing the wheel here again. It's triangle offense.
Well, look, I'll tell you one thing. The Pelicans look fast. They're young. They're athletic. They're long. They look like last year's Memphis right now, where they could be like that Cinderella darling that flirts with the top 3 in the West, and they could cause some problems this year if Zion stays on the court.
Pelicans, yeah.
I mean, they said Zion looks in better shape than when they drafted him.
He looks like a man now. He doesn't look like a Pillsbury.
You don't understand though, Jamie. And all of us play sports and everything. When you get injured and you're injured, and they tell you to stay off your feet, obviously you want to take as much care as you possibly can. But like when you're injured, and you can't move and you can't do things. Like I heard this on I think the Jalen Rose podcast with Jalen Jacoby, and Jalen was saying that, and he's like, I know everyone's about his weight and everything, but he just got done with a foot surgery where he can't really run or do any cardio. He can do upper body, but even then, like if they're telling him to stay off his feet, keep your feet elevated, stay off it. I get you're supposed to be moving in the right direction, but maybe we just caught him at a bad time that he was literally bedridden for like months. He wasn't even on the bench.
Why are we making it?
He was not paying attention to what he was eating, bro.
I agree with that. I agree with that too. Yeah. But I'm saying like he made a good point about like when people are injured, it doesn't. I'm not making an excuse for him. I'm just saying, like, ultimately.
No, not you. I mean, like, he's an athlete.
He's an athlete, but when you're off your
trainers at his fingertips, like
I get you, but like when you can't run, you can't do anything.
Underwater treadmills.
Yeah,
do that little therapy.
This thing
that he's got things.
People do.
Yeah, he's got things.
He's got stuff that does this.
He's got things.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
He's in mine.
And the show got canceled now. No.
Next topic.
So Uncle Mike has a few comments. He says G League is more exciting than preseason NBA. Those guys are trying to
disagree. The quality of play is so low. There's like 19 air balls a game. Disagree.
I love it.
Okay. All preseasons are dumb. Nothing to be excited about.
I agree.
They're necessary.
Except Zion Wilson dunking on somebody's mug.
Praise for
yeah.
Like Milk Jug playoff beer duo tonight. And of course, because he loves calling people bums, Green is a schmuck and is riding teammates' coattails. He's a bum.
Are you kidding me? This guy's a bum.
That's why he's a captain.
The only comparison between Draymond Green and Michael Jordan in the punching incident is the number 23.
Yeah.
Well, trying to punch your teammate could get you fired, but apparently it doesn't take a lot to get you fired anymore. So the question is, with all these firings we've had this year in college football, we want to know, is firing a college football head coach mid-season a good idea? Let's begin with Pat.
Like 2 to 3 games in.
Right. Let's start with Pat. Pat, what do you think?
Yes.
Why?
Okay, why? Elaborate, please.
Yes.
You want an explanation?
I would like an explanation, please, sir.
No, why?
Yeah, because you fire a coach mid-season, you get interim coaching, right? You see how that guy plays out. You want to give him a deal. Alumni may want to give him another contract. If he sucks the rest of the year against your rivals, no alumni wants to give him a contract, then you start your search. The intern coach could be the idea, the answer mid-season if he plays the regular or the rest of the season with his in-conference games against his rivals. The alumni will want to keep this guy around.
Just like Ryan did.
Yeah, we know how this plays out with the money going into these college teams.
So at first, to your point, like I was like, no, not at all. But you would have a good point because number one, it's not his system he's running.
It's not his guys.
It's not his guys. Yeah. And if he can win with those two factors, what makes you think when he recruits this guy? So at first I was like, hell no, like what are you talking about? But then like you actually made sense after you're like, we're talking about the rivals.
I didn't make sense when I just said yes or the explanation.
Yeah,
John, why do you say it's not his guys? Whether the offensive or defensive coordinator stepped up, he would have had to agree with the head coach based on whatever side of the ball he is. Like, yes, that's the guy I want for my system.
Correct.
So some of them are his guys.
Well, he could have a say, but
depending on what
no one else had it, they don't know.
I think they have a big say. I mean, you're the one who has to plug this person in your system. So if Saban comes to me and I'm his coordinator and he goes, look, this quarterback is a wildcat quarterback. Can he work in our system as the backup? And he goes, hell no, coach. You have more of a say than Saban at that point. Saban might love the guy, but he's like, nah, that doesn't work for our system.
You may have picked the one coach in college football.
No, it's definitely.
I actually think it's the other way. I think he puts a lot of confidence in this.
It's very true because I remember a guy from Bonaventure who actually transferred out, and I was talking to him. And I was like, who recruited you? He goes, well, my coach that recruited me actually left the program. And when I left the program, I kind of lost minutes and stuff like that. But like, it is very true that these head coaches put a lot into their assistant coaches, and that's why whoever's writing the assistant coach, look at us, Mike Hopkins, what was it, Bernie Fine? That's when the Syracuse teams were good.
Basketball is a lot different than football.
But it's the same. But it's the same type of recruitment because look at who.
The same concept though. You have to attract them to your program and make
you're working with these guys every day
for them, right?
The side of the ball, and and to Jamie's point, it is how it's done. Is Saban's going to trust them and be like, hey, can this guy play in the system? And when the guy looks bad, he's going to have to answer to it.
Yeah, but the blame will still be on the coach that just got fired.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, correct. You're right. You're right on that. You, as a head coach, you take all the blame.
That's just real life.
That's just real life. As the CEO of a company, you take the flack if something happened with your company.
And that's real life with Cinco Squad.
So do you agree with that? And keep it real.
No, I don't agree with it.
Okay.
So here I've been pondering with this like all day, and like I was first yes. I don't like when there's already rumors in the air that they're going to let go of the coach in the beginning of the season, and then 2 games in you let him go. When you could have already fired the guy last season, hired a new coach, and he could have already started recruiting.
Yeah.
Will they take a year setback? Yes, but like Nebraska fired Coach Frost, and it's like you already wanted him gone last year. Why didn't you just let him go? There was a lot of good coaches. Actually, that would have been the perfect year for them to kind of like look for a new coach.
But there was
a lot of good candidates.
It's like it takes more than 1 year to fill a system.
Agree. It's like it's the 5-year rule. Like the first 3 years, he's recruiting.
You're playing with someone else's guy.
The next 2 is when you're
implementing it.
Correct. Exactly. And I agree with that. But it's like now you set that program back this year, next year. Now it's like 2.
But during the instance of Scott Frost, he had a longer leash because he was like the prodigal son coming back.
Correct. From UCLA.
That was a disaster. That was just a disaster. And look, they let that sink ship pretty deep.
Yes.
Yeah. Before they kick the captain off.
So much that they're looking at Urban Meyer, maybe.
Yeah.
Jamie, what was your point about him? About what they could have waited
with Frost?
Yeah. What was your point?
Like you doing the finger?
Finger? So what I figure with Frost, right, is that here's what you've done with him, right? I just think they mismanaged it. I think what you have to do is that I didn't see strategy in that at all. So whether it was a 3-year plan, a 4-year plan, a 5-year plan, you set parameters. If he's way below the expectation after 3 years and you haven't hit where you want to hit, then at that point you tell him, here's what's going to happen. In year 4, there's going to be a hard stop on you as the leader of this program if we don't see ourselves competing in games, and they competed. They won a lot of close games. So I think that may have been what they said. And to me, it was almost like, I think he felt the pressure of, okay, how do we get over the hump? And then as soon as this season started and they couldn't even get over the hump against a really bad team, I think he lost the locker room right away, right? And that's what you have to look out for him. And my thing was, let him go this season, right? Because it's not going to matter. Kids are going to transfer anyway. Whether you find him now, another new coach comes in, new coach is not there, then they're disgruntled. They're going to transfer anyway. Let him play out the season. Let him fight. At least give him that shot because he was an alum of the program. I think you treat alums a little bit different. So I thought they mismanaged it and should have let him go. But here's the thing, right? I'm so in the middle of this myself because it depends on whether the coach has lost the locker room. Why waste 2 months of a kid's value and what he can show as a football player? I think you have to also consider the future of the players as well. Because if a player now is playing in a terrible system and his team's tanking and the offense keeps turning the ball over so he can't show what he's worth, let's say, as a good receiver, then that kid's stock is going down. And I think you are responsible to your players who come to you and say, my goal is to make the NFL. Are you the right program for me? And when you say yes, kid, and you shake his hand, you need to do everything you can to make sure you're helping that kid's dream come true, because that's what you're taking on. You're taking on his dream as well. So, to allow someone to just taint that, knowing that they've lost the locker room completely, that's when you know they have to go. But in the case of Wisconsin's coach, I thought that was a terrible firing. The guy has overachieved for 4 years, and he starts off 2-2, or 2-3, and you're panicking. I get it. The offense looks terrible, but he earned his right to finish off the year, and for them to say, look, it's not working out anymore. Our 5 years here, we're done. We're moving on. I didn't like how they handled him at all.
What was his record against the big 4 or 5 in Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State? It wasn't good.
It wasn't great.
You got to win.
I know you have to win those games, but at the same time, Wisconsin competed and they won a conference. They won the division.
Minnesota, right? I guess.
Right.
Minnesota.
It's a very competitive conference. I mean, you're talking about like a contender. There's 2 contenders now for a national championship, probably for the next 2 or 3 years.
I think ultimately you have great points, but the biggest thing is if you don't win the recruiting battle against Michigan State, when you're in the Big Ten, if you're Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, if you're not winning the recruiting battles over them, it's going to be a hard time for you to have a success. It's just like in the SEC. Georgia is now winning the recruiting battle over, not completely. Really? It's kind of like it's even now. It's more even than it has been.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but bro, Texas A&M had the top class this year, and look at them. They're shit in the bed. Texas A&M.
I get that, and I think this. I mean, just to go off topic a little bit, this week's game is going to definitely be a challenge because they don't have Bryce Young in quarterback. This week.
What Texas A&M doesn't have Max Johnson either. So like both of them.
Okay, so yeah,
what a shitty game.
Yeah, it's going to be.
It's going to end 7-6.
Suspicion of quality. But you know what's crazy about that too? Do you know that the A&M boosters were willing to buy out Jimbo at $84 million because that's what's left on his contract? Because they're like because here's what they have to consider this year. Georgia's better than them. Alabama's better than them. Tennessee's better than them. They're in the top 10. Bob Stoops has Kentucky better than them. Ole Miss is right there in the top 10. So you mean to say you're the 6th best team in the SEC, maybe even the 7th with Texas coming across, and who they ran away from, by the way. They didn't want to play Texas anymore because they were tired of losing recruits to them. So now you're 6th, 7th in the conference, and you're paying your coach $10 million a year. They're not paying you to rebuild. They're paying you to win.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
Alumni run college football.
Yes.
Run it. And them Texas alumni boys, they don't play, boy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you got to win the recruiting battles. And let's be honest, it's going to be harder when Nick Saban's at the home of Alabama to be at the top. And they have. I mean, Jimbo has been top 5 for the last 2 or 3 years, which makes this even worse.
Yep.
Because you have a top 5 class, and now like you can't win these games, and you're losing to teams that you shouldn't. So
Mikey, let me ask you. So you're the AD of a school, right? You're the AD of Notre Dame.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're the AD of Notre Dame. The coach you didn't really like left a very successful program, did not lose the games that he shouldn't have lost. Your new coach has already lost a couple of games he shouldn't have lost. Where's your faith in him right now?
If it's me as AD,
Mm-hmm.
I have complete faith in him.
Okay.
Because of some similar things as to what you guys said. First of all, Jamie, what comes to mind mostly is what you said. Has he lost the locker room? He has the locker room.
Mm.
He's had the locker room since the moment they announced the hire.
Right.
Like,
Since the moment.
Wait, which guy? Frost?
Marcus Freeman.
Oh, we're talking about Notre Dame. Sorry.
Yeah, we're talking about.
Let's talk about.
Yeah, no. Since it's on video. The moment the team finds out that he's the head coach or gets introduced to him as head coach, they're all over him. They're swarming him, giving him hugs, high fives, dapping him up. Like, he has the locker room. Also, this kind of ties into how I feel about this topic, which is that it's very layered. And Marcus Freeman is a good example of the firings that I really don't like and wouldn't do as an athletic director, or would do my best not to do as athletic director, which is those first year guys. Yes, he coached the ball game. Yes, he was D coordinator all last year. This is his first full season as head coach of Notre Dame. A very prestigious program, a lot to live up to, with like Knute Rockne, all the success Brian Kelly had, Charlie Weiss when he had success there. But it's still his first year. And yes, a lot of the defense might be his guys, but now it's his team. Is a lot of the offense his guys. So I've never understood the guys that get fired either in the middle of or at the end of their first year. How do you know what he can make the program?
Yeah.
If you don't let him get his guys in, implement his system, the system that he wants to run, because let's face it, as much as you may coach with certain coaches, your system is going to be an amalgamation of all the coaches you've either played for or coached under. Yes, he probably took some of Brian Kelly's offense because that's the offense he was dealing with when he got to Notre Dame, but he's probably still got his own plays.
Yeah.
A lot of it's probably from Ohio State where he played.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's probably from NFL coaches that he played under when he was trying to make it in the NFL. So if I'm the AD of Notre Dame, I'm talking with Freeman saying, hey, I just want you to know this is not where we want to be. These are not the games we're supposed to be losing. What's the plan? But I would want to have that dialogue and that communication with him.
Yeah.
Well,
Do we have a plan?
Like, you're not supposed to be losing to Marshall, but I mean, you kind of were supposed to lose to Ohio State. So
we were supposed to lose to Ohio State. It was the one
in that game, though.
And you were in that game too, so it's not even like that game is like.
But you still lost to Marshall.
You lost to Marshall.
But you lost to Marshall.
The only frustrating thing about the Ohio State loss is that they were there to win. It was like it was their game that they could have won. They were
right now, Ohio State has the lowest odds of winning. They're the favorite right now, according to Vegas, to win the national
Mike, you did lose to Marshall.
I know I lost to Marshall.
Here's what we all know, right? Don't go around.
Marshall's undefeated.
Pat, let me know when Syracuse gets back to the national championship game.
That two things we know really.
1987.
Let's go off our boy Urban Meyer's behavior. 3 things not to do. 1, don't kick your punter, fart on him, and call him a little bitch. Number 2, don't go to a bar and get really drunk and flirt with somebody who is not even your daughter's age. Number 3,
Take a sorority girl, do this.
Number 3, don't consult Tebow to be your savior at tight end. I mean, how many bad decisions can you make in your first month as a head coach?
Yeah, that was probably a fire that should have happened after week 1, to be honest.
Disaster.
Urban Meyer's a fucking.
But the NFL is different. The NFL is different than. But no, I think if you're in a situation where you've been, like you guys said, if you've been at the helm of a program for 3-4 years and you're just in the basement, and especially if it's a prestigious program, it's a program with expectations like a Nebraska, like a Wisconsin, like a Notre Dame.
You lost to Marshall though.
Pat, I know we lost to Marshall. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere down the line.
The key thing is, like, if you lose the recruiting battles, you're never going to have. If Ohio State's getting all the 5 stars and Notre Dame's getting all the 3 stars, I mean, not saying those 3 stars are not capable of competing against the 5 stars, because we've had look at all the quarterbacks and players that come out of the NFL. like Miami of Ohio, Fresno State. It's not like uncommon, but it's
Victor
also
Cruz came from UMass.
Montana.
right. I mean,
North Dakota State.
Randy Moss came from
Josh
Marshall.
Allen came from
Marshall, Mike.
Randy Moss came from a lot of schools, bro. Notre Dame,
Well,
Marshall,
it's a
Florida.
lot. Like, and I'm not saying
right.
that's all be all, but if you're going to compete in that conference and you're not winning those battles, but I think the biggest thing is Nebraska was like what Alabama was back in the 90s.
Oh yeah, there's a certain expectation that comes with being a Nebraska head coach.
Right. Yeah. Them losing like they have been when they joined the Big Ten is not Nebraska football.
No, but I agree with what you were saying, which is from the opening kickoff or before the opening kickoff, there was rumors they were thinking about getting rid of him. So I agree with you. Just get rid of him before the season starts.
Yep.
Yeah,
if you're going to hit the reset button,
like Pat said,
do it. That's right. You weren't strategic. You weren't strategic. Right. You knew that they lost all those close games, and you want to win those games. Get him out of there. He's proven that he cannot get you over the hump already.
If you're expecting to hit the reset button, just hit it.
Yeah.
Hit it and give whoever your new coach is a year, full year.
Possibly back.
That's the thing. Scott Frost was really fucking good for UCF. Oregon as a coordinator. He'll be back. These guys always.
Oh, he'll get another. These guys always get another job, but
yeah, he'll be on a coordinator at Ohio State or
Michigan. Paul Pasqualoni sucked for Syracuse forever.
Gentlemen, speaking of hitting that reset button.
Oh yes, I believe it's
hitting that reset button. It is time to end Mikey's streak and hit a reset button on our favorite segment. It might be your favorite segment. I know it's Pat's favorite segment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to stomp.
Looks weird.
Jamie, for the uninitiated, people.
For you uninitiated Cinco Squad compadre dodos, this is the time when we ask each other trivia questions and try to figure out who's going to be the ranter of the week. We have eliminated anybody being a little PUNK and betting 1 point. So everybody's going to be on the deuce right now for every question. And I'm going to kick this off with Bert because Bert can't stop laughing right now. So John, take it away, buddy.
Me?
No, John.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You're Ernie, bro. You're wearing red. You're Ernie.
Who's going to be
me? I got it.
You got it? So all the stew.
So we're all two, yep.
Terrible. I didn't realize I put it in front of me.
I looked up. Okay, all right. All right.
Get it together, Grouch.
All right.
Oh, hat came off. It's serious time.
All right. In 2019, Lamar Jackson became the second player in NFL history to be named as the unanimous MVP. Who was the first? Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Marshall Faulk, or Tom Brady?
Marshall Faulk.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Can't look at each other the same anymore.
I'm going through all the files in my brain under NFL MVP.
So you say Marshall Faulk, Jay?
Faulk, yeah.
Faulk, yeah.
Faulk, yeah. Faulk, yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, Minnesota. Marshall Faulk just makes sense.
Yeah, Marshall Faulk feels right.
Yeah. So all three of you say Marshall Faulk?
Yeah.
Greatest show on turf.
I have successfully stumped the squad.
No. Is it Aaron Rodgers?
It's Peyton, isn't it?
Aaron Rodgers.
So it is Tom Brady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Brady. Peyton was my runner-up. All right.
What year?
Twice.
John, what year?
All right, I didn't get that far.
He just looked this up.
I literally looked it up before.
All right, who's next?
2010. I'm sorry.
Well, Pat's already on the screen, so.
Oh, that's when he threw for like 53 touchdowns. Yeah.
He threw 36 and 43 total with running. He ran for 7.
Yeah.
You want me up?
Yes, you're already on screen.
All right. Which one of these things existed the last time the Mariners made the playoffs in 2001?
Oh, I remember this list.
It's a little bit different list.
It is a little bit of a different list, but
a lot of things were invented in the last 20 years.
it's true.
Michael.
Use my government name.
Michael right. Secretly 21.
A. Marshall beat Notre Dame.
All right. This is a
fine.
All right. A. YouTube. B. Camera phones. C. Blu-ray discs. Or D. A Nintendo Wii.
So what was it?
Okay, I know two of them. It's not.
Which one of these things existed the last time the Mariners made the playoffs in 2001?
YouTube, camera phone,
Blu-ray discs, Nintendo Wii.
Not Wii.
No, I mean we did.
Wii.
Last time the Mariners what?
Last time the Mariners made the playoffs.
So in 2001, which one of those actually existed in 2001?
Yeah, and there's the early 2000s.
2001. YouTube, camera phones, Blu-ray discs, or a Nintendo Wii.
I'm going to say Blu-ray.
I'm going to say camera phones.
Shit.
In
Not YouTube.
YouTube?
No, not YouTube.
Not YouTube.
The camera phone, the flip phone, so I know for sure not then because we weren't taking pictures on the camera. And Blu-ray, and what's the other one? Blu-ray and what?
Nintendo Wii.
Man, I know that it wasn't. I had a Dreamcast back then. There's no Nintendo Wii, so I'll go with Blu-ray.
I love a Dreamcast.
Yeah, it's not YouTube. It's not YouTube, and it's not Wii. I know that.
Yeah.
What is it?
Boy, I got the answer.
Well, what did you pick?
Blu-ray.
So I picked Blu-ray. He picked Blu-ray. Mike picked camera phone.
Camera phone.
Okay. I have successfully stumped John and Jamie.
Damn it.
Mike is in the lead again.
Damn
yes, it. Uncle Mike. Yes, Zach Moore's camera
Mike
phone.
and John are tied because John's still. Oh no, John's at -2. Mike's at 0. We're at minus. You're at -2. I'm at -4. Damn it.
Give it to me. I don't even have a rant.
All right, update. John at -2. Mike is at 0. Pat is at -2, and Grandpa Jay's at -4.
All right, Jay, who's up?
Pat just asked the question.
Oh, who's up?
Mike.
Okay.
DeSanto.
That is I.
Oh, now he's over there.
Yes, now I'm over here. All right, so going back a little bit to our college football talk, upon his firing, Scott Frost tied for the earliest in-season firing in the last decade.
Oh, geez. Really?
Who did he tie? Charlie Weiss at Kansas in 2014. Les Miles at LSU in 2016.
That sounds right.
Jim McElwain at Florida in 2017. Or Clay Helton at USC in 2021. I can repeat if needed.
He said Jim McGowan.
Who's the Georgia one?
No one. I didn't say Georgia.
Oh, that's what I was going to go with.
He said Charlie Weiss at Kansas. He said
Les Miles at
LSU.
Jim McElwain at
Florida.
Okay.
Or Clay Helton at USC.
Man, like all of them sound really.
Yeah. I'm going to say Clay Helton.
I don't want to pick your answer.
Les Miles.
You agree with Uncle Mike?
I think it's Les Miles, but it's.
In the words of the famous Les Miles telling the story, like, you want me, you know what? You're going to fire me and pay me? I'll go with Les Miles, too. Yeah.
Okay, so Pat, Jamie, and Uncle Mike say Les Miles.
Yeah.
John, you're sticking with Clay Helton?
Yeah, I'll say that.
Okay, I have successfully stumped
I like how this leads in.
Jamie, Pat, and Uncle Mike. It was Clay Helton in 2021.
Woo!
Yeah, it was up to 3 games, too, right? 3 games. Was he 3 games?
2.
Right?
Had a feeling.
Wow, that guy sucks.
All right, so John and Mike are tied at 0. Pat and I are bottom feeding at -1, -6. So this is between John. You got to end the streak. I have a feeling that you guys might get this, so I do have a tiebreaker prepared. So All right. Which one of these baseball players did not win MVP after leading the MLB in the single season home run chase? Was it Roger Maris in 61, Barry Bonds in 2001, Mark McGwire in 98, or Miguel Cabrera in 2012?
I know the answer.
Which one of these players did not win MVP after leading the MLB in the home run chase for that particular season? Maris in 61, Bonds in 2001, McGwire in 98, or Miguel Cabrera in 2012?
Say the list again. Mickey.
Roger Maris in 61, Barry Bonds in 2001, Mark McGwire in 98, Miguel Cabrera in 2012.
Since I got no horse in the race, I'll go Roger Maris.
Roger?
I want to say Maris because I think Mickey won the MVP that year because he had a good statistical year, but Maris also had statistical
year. The answer is titillating.
Titillating.
He knows the answer, so I have to get this.
I do know.
And I think we just talked about. I think you and I just talked about this earlier today. No, that was me and Trey.
All right, so Pat's Roger. John, what are you?
I think it's McGwire.
John's McGwire. Mikey?
Overthinking.
Are you taking McGwire or you're thinking it's him? What are you saying?
You? Did he freeze?
No, I'm here.
I'm waiting.
What's your final answer?
Mike, go.
No,
you. Mike already knows.
It's Barry Bonds.
You said 3 fucking people.
Who are you taking? Barry Bonds?
Yeah, I just said that.
All right.
you're taking Barry Bonds?
Dude,
Yeah.
you did not talk about him at all in that whole.
Mike?
It's Mark McGwire. Sammy Sosa won the MVP in
God
'98.
damn it, John. You let him win again.
God damn.
I've successfully stumped
you know
everybody
what?
but Mike DeSanto.
We're doing
Yeah,
a
Sammy
tiebreaker.
Sosa
Screw
won.
that. Jamie, no, we're doing a tiebreaker. Screw that. You can't give a baseball like that type of question to Mike. We're doing a tiebreaker.
But you made me go last, and you should have known that, bro. Come on.
Yeah,
Because Sosa had him in average and RBI.
Because I had him in everything
No,
else.
I knew that.
Except for home runs.
That was a 66 to 70 year.
So,
Although I will say this, you did make me doubt it for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, did Mickey win the 61 MVP? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, Maris did. No, Maris did. Don't stay
All
in your own
right, so
head.
here, I'll throw this out. I
Yeah.
bet you Mike knows this one too. How many times did Babe Ruth win how many times did Babe Ruth lead the MLB in home runs in his career?
Hold
Yeah, make him work for it.
on. Well, I know he was the all-time leader after like 8 seasons.
15.
For some reason, the number 13 comes to mind.
It's 10 in 12 years.
By Price is Right.
So I was actually just talking to Trey about this. Like we were just talking about like the home run race, and he's like, "Yeah, McGwire." He literally said this earlier. Now I remember. Like he literally said, "Like, oh yeah, I remember McGwire in '98 with Sosa winning it." Because we were looking up stats, and I was like, "I can't believe I picked Bonds."
I'm disappointed in you, bro.
Yeah, me too. Go ahead, Mike. I don't want to hear your rant. Actually, let me get on my phone.
What's it, 7 or 8? What do you got? 7 in a row?
7.
God damn it.
You gave him a easy baseball question, bro. You got to give him something complicated.
Well, it was easy, so you should have got it right.
This was the day that he hit it, like day of the week or something.
It was a Thursday.
It was not. Shut up.
He hit it at about like 7:27 p.m.
Yeah, shut up, Mike. That's
All right, so for my 7th consecutive,
no,
eighth, technically 8th because we had that time when we all tied and we all did a rant. But for my 7th solo, Garrett got the McGwire answer for him. For my 7th solo, I will take the time to talk about the trip that John and I just had to Yankee Stadium because it was so amazing. It was super cool. It was the first time I've ever been to the new Yankee Stadium, and it was amazing. We had awesome seats. Could see the whole field of play. We got to go into Monument Park. We had like an hour-long conversation during a rain delay with one of the tour guides that was working in Monument Park. It was super fun. And for any Yankee fans out there that are thinking about going to the stadium, going to a game, you should absolutely go because it's a great time. Anybody should go to an MLB game. Yes.
Those are seats.
Those are our seats. They were phenomenal. And I'd like to take a moment on camera to thank John for going on me on that trip and coming up with the idea for that trip because it was awesome.
He forced you. It's okay.
Literally flew, and I drove his car there. Get your ass in the car.
Yeah, exactly. What everybody thought I sat in the passenger seat. I really was in the trunk. A very spacious trunk on the Toyota Camry though.
What a trunk!
But no, it was a great time. New York City is a great city. I got to see MSG, got to see Yankee Stadium, so I can't thank John enough for it. I can't thank the Yankees enough for having a phenomenal game for us to go to, even though Judge didn't set the record. 8-0 win. Nestor threw 7 1/3 with 13 strikeouts. It was awesome. So, yeah.
Nestor.
Just wanted to talk about that real quick before we signed off because it was one of the cooler games I've ever been to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got one thing I want to just brought up that we didn't get to bring up last week. It's like everyone here at Cinco Squad has seen like the hurricane. Here, so I want to give our thoughts and prayers to everyone that has lost a business, lost life, lost anything to that hurricane. It was absolutely catastrophic. Yeah. And, my mom had to go through it for her first hurricane in Fort Myers. Thank God she's good and everything, but. If you look at the pier is that I took pictures with my nieces and my sister and my mom and dad on. It's completely gone. All the restaurant we went to, gone. That whole strip is just absolutely demolished. And our thoughts are with everybody in Fort Myers, Florida, everywhere that had to suffer through this. And Jamie and I have known living there. It's something that's just part of living there, but we're thankful that we have the resources to go places and stuff like that and whatnot. And shout out to the Delta Airlines too for always like being so communicative to me as well, because like they were constantly calling me and making sure the flight was on time, everything like that and whatnot. So just want to give a shout out for that.
Absolutely.
It's still a full rescue effort right now, sadly, because the first week was focused on saving the people they could save. This week's focused on retrieving people. And I know someone personally who a work colleague just walked out of work 2 days ago and said that two of his family members are found. And I mean, I can't imagine getting that call. So there's going to be a lot of families getting that call. So, sending love in any way possible and praying that they can find a way through this, because it's just so sad that some people went south because it was supposed to hit Tampa and took their elderlies into the hurricane, because you just don't know that it's going to turn.
Right.
And the safest thing to do is always move away from the coast. It's that you can handle flooding. You can handle flooding inland. You might survive that. You're not going to survive the wrath of a hurricane on the coast.
And people always say it's like, why'd you move down there for that? And it's ultimately, it comes with the land, but Jamie's absolutely right. The more inland you are, because as a hurricane gets on land, it does die. And ultimately, they give you enough warning. If you're really that uncomfortable, grab as much as you can, put it in your car, and go. Go up north.
Go.
And that's what I kept telling my mom, and thank God she's okay, and everything's okay with them. I know everybody was worried. I was kind of like their point of contact through the family. So, but yeah, it's definitely sad to see. I'm sorry to hear about your coworker's family and everything.
Yeah.
But that's one thing we forgot to, as I stupidly, accidentally turned off our show last week, and we were supposed to sign off with that, but I wanted to make sure we got that in before the end of the show.
No, thank you for making sure we got that in, because our love and support with everybody that was affected and your families, and we just hope that eventually all will be able to heal down there and they'll be able to get some sense of normalcy.
Yeah. We're going to reach out to certain teams and try and get them into our pool eventually and see what we could do to help,
definitely
at least get some normalcy with them. And so we have some plans to help out with some of the clubs down there, and they ain't going to be the same for a long time. So I'll give some updates on the show about that too as we go along. But guys, we're almost to 30, right? This was 28.
It was 28. We're almost to 30.
Sir. That's my special number. I was hoping to win tonight. 28's my number. Thanks, Mike.
I got you. Don't worry. Maybe you'll get next week.
We got to defeat Mike next week.
Yes.
I'll be back in my natural habitat.
Train for it. Train for it.
No more baseball parties.
Hey guys, who are you taking this weekend? Bama or A&M? We got
Bama. Taking this. I think they're going to cover the spread too. I think it's like 24 points. I think. I don't even know what that means. So
it's a safe bet. I promise you, it's a safe bet.
You're gonna take it. All right.
Bama by 240.
Yes, exactly.
Go Bears.
Well, that'll do it, I think, guys, for this week's show. Any final closing words? Anybody for the fans out there?
Goodbye.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Yankees. Go Giants.
Goodbye.
Thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. We love you all. We support you all. And we will see you next week.
Goodbye.